golf fanatics. Billy Ho here once again with another PGA Tour event preview, course breakdown, players, stats, all that kind of good stuff. We're finishing up the Genesis Invitational this weekend, a signature event that saw a lot of ups and downs, especially downs when you come to Jordan Spieth. I just had to speak on it real briefly. Probably going to cost me a lot of money this week, FYI, Jordan. But I really was disappointed to hear he got DQ'd for signing a wrong scorecard. And you can say all the opinions you want, but it's still the players' friggin' responsibility to keep track of their own scores. And I had half a mind to think he did the shit on purpose after he had a disastrous double bogey on 18 yesterday. Guy get disgusted, but you've seen him over 10-inch putts. Sometimes he just brain farts, and maybe it was just one of them 10-inch putt brain farts that he just signed the wrong scorecard. Now I know guys have been caught out in the parking lot and said, "Hey, I don't know what happened. I can't explain it, but I'm moving on. I'm not letting it get old Billy Ho down. Don't let it get you down either." So this week is a new week. We are going to get after it. Mexico Open. We're heading to Vidante Vallarta. Viva la Mexico. Let's get it going. It's the third year for the event here in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta. And last year's winner, obviously, Tony Finau, touchdown Tony. Everybody thinks he's going to repeat. He's probably going to be the overwhelming choice in one and done this week, and we'll briefly touch on that a little bit later. He's repeated at 3M, so there's no reason why he's going to be not in a good shot to repeat once again. So let's get on and get down with it and get started. Okay, this is going to be a coastal track. It's a long par 71, 7,456 yards, wide open fairways, all past Palom, straight across the board, fairways, greens, everything else. Don't worry about the rough. The fairways are wide. The greens aren't huge, and they are a bit tricky to putt on. They do have some subtle breaks and undulations that require your precision when it comes to the flat stick. Potential with 4 par 5s and 5 par 3s. Easy to hit fairways, like I said. Tony Finau went minus 24 to win this event last year. So anyway, before we get into the golf course, I want to briefly touch on the weather. Now, last year, and I believe the year before, this event was held a few months from now, but now, since it's been moved up to February, it looks the weather seems even better. No need to worry about the weather, aka much cooler than it was, less humid, very little wind. It looks like that roller coaster where it just typical, like set your clock to it, 8 to 10 mile per hour wind in the afternoon, later on in the day for 3 or 4 p.m. So not too much to worry about there. We've got 4 par 5s, 3 of which are on the back nine. Water in play on 13 holes. You can get wet if you're sloppy with your play, but it's not really like TPC Southwind or something where you're going to see a whole ton of golf balls. You'd need to be Justin Thomas off the tee to lose one of those. So anyway, what we're doing is going off on the front nine is probably going to be off to a little bit of a slow start because you don't see a par 5 until the 6th hole. First 4 holes are fairly lengthy par 4s, and just getting through those even par is going to be just fine. You can attack the next 2 as it's the first par 5 you're going to see and an easily drivable par 4. So both of those you need to go 2 under or even 3 under on because you can have the potential for eagles on either or. Much tougher on the drivable par 4, obviously, but the par 5 is eagleable. So making birdies a must, like there. I said holes 8 and 9 do play over par, and then you get to the back 9, hole 10. So it's a 3-hole stretch, which is the hardest on the golf course. And the number 1 handicap hole is hole number 10. So that's a tough par 4, 475 yards. Some of these holes would play a much tougher if the wind was up, but I think it might even play a little bit easier if we don't see a whole lot of wind. So That 3-hole stretch, however, did claim 70 double bogeys or worse, and that was far more than any of the combined rest of the golf course. Players that survive that little gauntlet will have the next several holes. This is where you mount your charge. Pars or holes 11 and 13 are gettable par threes, and they do yield birdies. They play slightly under par, but those par fours, 12 and 14, are extremely easy, and you need to get after those. That's where your eagles are going to come from. Holes 15, 17 play slightly above par, and the 18th hole plays a full half stroke under par itself. So this can be, if you're steady Eddie and consistent, you can get paid off. You don't have to be boom or bust. Tony Finau is probably about as steady as a golfer as you'll ever see. You don't see him shooting 80s and 75s, but you don't see him shooting 61s either. He's the kind of guy that's going to shoot 67s, 66s, 65s all week. He shot an even, I believe last year's scorecard went somewhere along those lines where he was 5 or 6 under, 4 to 6 under all 4 days. So dominating once again. I think I'll show you round one scorecard. You can see how the consistent performance and where most of the birdies occurred on the back nine. Don't get me wrong, though. I mean, this course is easy for a pro. Resort courses can lead to super low rounds. Look at Jon Rahm last year. Flawless round 3, shot a 61. So we're probably going to see some lower 60 scores. The model stats are pretty simple this week. Grip it and rip it off the tee, distance and advantage. Those things are in play. When PGA players have wide open fairways, they can dial it up a notch. So let's take a look at some of the key course stats now. Okay, here we are. Rick Run Good. Shout out to him. Here is your scores. You can see all these under green. This is all the ones that play under par, obviously. And then there are a few that play slightly over par. Like I mentioned, the 10, here's your gauntlet, your 8, 9, and 10 right here. So we get down here, and here's your correlated stats. And surprisingly enough, off the tee, not super highly ranked, really, because off the tee, players have wide open fairways. They basically can dial it up a notch when it comes to that. You can note guys like Eric Cole, who hits it just a hair under 300 on average. He added an extra 10 yards off the tee. He was hitting at 310, 315. Dylan Wu is another one. He hits it about 290 off the tee, but he was hitting it on average 320 last year. So some of this is probably wind aided stats as well. Keep that in eye. Also, Island Golf, obviously, these fairways are resorts. They're perfectly manicured. There's no bad lies. So recent form, I think, is going to be more important than course history. I'm going to be looking at some rolling reports, things of that nature. So looking over here at these stats, you can see, look how many approach and proximity stats are showing up here. Opportunities gained will obviously go along with all of the fantasy scoring stats like birdie or better. Eagles gained needs to be a little bit more important. Consecutive greens in regulation. These greens aren't like, 7,500 huge greens. They probably averaged maybe in the 5,000s range. I didn't look for sure, but you can see consecutive birdies, eagle streak. So you're talking about bonuses are going to be super important this week. Total eagles shows up again, total birdies, eagles holes per. But you can see all the ranges of approaches with a long golf course. You got 175 to 200, 200 to 225. Then you got wedges, things of that nature, all showing up. So it's going to be important to identify those guys that hit those bonuses. You're going to see multiple bogey-free rounds, and you're probably going to have a good amount of players that are going to have a shot on Sunday to get that all under 70 bonus on DraftKings. So looking at seeing who rates out well, like he's got this course fit down here. We'll get back up to that in a minute. I wanted to look down here just a little further to show you some more stats. Here's your off the tee stats. I wanted to check out this new addition to the website. Hopefully, it offsets some of the trouble I've had personally with the custom model being all blacked out and being in effect basically unreadable for me in a lot of cases. I got to get 95 times vision on my cheaters, and I'm going to open up a new tab here just to show you what I like and don't like, just really briefly. It's coming up right now. Bear with me. You can see how this is bold up here. Select golfers, custom model. I would really like for him to bold all this stuff so I could see it easier and I don't have to lean into it myself. This is just a personal thing of mine. I'm 50 years old and I had surgery 20 some odd years ago to correct my eyes. I've got scar tissue, so my reading is not very good. Um, so golfer profiles. This is another thing I wanted to show you. You get over here and look at like a guy like Nicolai Højgaard. You can see how there's no bolding here. Now you can see all the stats are good and all the regular stats are down here. What's missing is I used to like to look at, especially for one and done, he had a page where it showed all the golf courses that the player gained his most strokes on from best to worst in a tier just like this here. And you could do the strokes gained. It did a good job of helping me narrow down my one and done picks. And also this over here, this right here where the player profile is, it doesn't really give you that much information, but it, you know, if he wants to put his links to his YouTube page over here, that's fine. But I would really like to see this page collapsible. That way you can move over all these stats. Because if you have like me, a bigger screen that you move it over to, you have to go all the way down here and find the scroll bar to move back and forth to see these complete stats. Then you have to go up here and you have to click. And then if you want to see further down stats, you have to go click this and apply it. And then over here, if you go to tournaments, you have to go here, find your stats, click that, then apply it instead of that little button he had where you could go right to it. And then if you want to go back, you have to go back over here. Then you have to go find that button. You have to unclick it, apply it once again to get your full stats. It just adds a lot of time, in my opinion. That's just my 2 cents worth. We'll move on. Course key stats, like I said, fairways hit, average drive. You can see missed penalty very rarely, but there is a few that you can get wayward with the driver. The long drive reward, you can see long drive reward really is only in the green a couple of times here, and it's a negative in some of these other ones. So that goes to show you. But if you go down here and you look at approach, there's your buckets. 100. Now this is I like this stat. I shout out Rick. He's got it on the white screen. I can see it really good. Everything's highlighted in bold, really easy to see. And you can see how much the longer irons, because this is a long golf course, the average is right here. You can see how much further it goes average wise. Pretty neat stat. Then you got approach distance per hole. This is a really good stat here as well. It shows you the exact average distance. Now it's a small sample size because we've only had the course. This is going to be just the third year, so this is just a 2-year sample size. But I think it's going to be fairly sticky in the future because the weather seems to remain constant and the course seems to be remaining constant. Not a lot of changes. Putting percentage. This is a good one here too. It shows you putting boosts for certain players. Now, mind you, these players are the Genesis players. So not everybody is in the pool. So guys, you know, there's only one guy that I can think of off the top of my head here, Eric Cole, that's in the field. I'm sure there's a few other guys along here as well. But there are some guys up here when you go to the course fit. These top two guys, Eric Cole and Nicolai Højgaard, jump off the page to me right away. So these two guys killing it on approach. If you want to sort by approach, you can. This is probably going to be the main course fit stat. And you can see Cole, Højgaard. Glover, I'm not so much on. He missed the cut here last year. Of course, obviously, Tony Finau is going to be here. I don't think Gary Woodland's in the field. There's a few guys down here. I think Putnam's playing. Patrick Rogers is another guy that cracks me up because everybody's disgusted with him. But that dude's a guy that's going to disappoint you about 85% of the time, in my opinion. But this week, it's not going to be one of them. So, just looking briefly, Nikolai Højgaard, I think I'm really high on this week. He has just been killing it with the approach and the ball striking. I think he's due. He was second at Farmers. He won that DP World Tour. I do believe he's really, really close to getting it done, and he's a really great fit for this course. Patrick Rogers, like I just mentioned, this is his Mexico stats, back-to-back top tens. Good ball striking, good off the tee. His recent form's a little suspect coming in, but I feel pretty good about trusting him this week in a weak field. He's the kind of guy that seems to play well in these wide open golf courses, easy golf courses, weaker field events. That's the one I target him, especially this other guy, Cam Champ, another dude, back-to-back top tens at Mexico. Dude misses a ton of cuts, but there are certain courses you can see his gaining off the tee hugely. And if he's on with the approach, another guy that can get hot fire with the putter, he can win this golf tournament. I wonder if he might be triple-digit odds, but I don't know yet. I haven't looked at any of the odds, but he's a guy that's in there. So anyway, these types of guys are what we're looking at. You taking a look at the overall field. I just highlighted some guys here. These are only about 100 golfers. There's going to be more than 100 in the field, but I just kind of copied and pasted it over because we don't have fields loaded, not on my website anyway. So that's what we're looking at, highlighting some golfers that just look promising off the top of my head. So that's going to do it for the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. Share it with a friend. Smash that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until the next time, we will see you soon. Appreciate you watching.